Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending the May focus discussion for Team 3. It's always great when we get guest instructors coming. I know you all get tired of hearing me all the time. It's great to get other perspectives. And we get all sorts of mentoring opinions on the field, and it's great to do the same in the classroom. So tonight we have Phil Briggs, who is currently the Section 10 Director of Referee Instruction. He's a national referee assessor, and national referee instructor, all the hats. And well, I'll end there and let Phil take over. And thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Liz. Before we get started, is everyone aware that the final version of the laws of the game is now published?
Good.
So you can go to theifab.com and download your very new copy of the 1920 laws of the game.
The original laws are available as well.
Yeah.
They just put those up recently.
The 1903 version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you read them?
Not in their entirety.
Read them. They're very interesting.
Okay.
They're very interesting. I talked to Lewis, I guess a week and a half ago or so, about what we could be doing at this meeting tonight. And at the recent expo, I had done a workshop with Bill Devaney that was called Proactive Refereeing. So I said, why don't I springboard from that? So what you're getting is kind of the extra special version of the workshop that I've added some things to and taken some things away from. The theme, and we'll talk about that in a second here. The theme of the all right. No, it's not responding to me. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. The theme that I want to keep in mind for the whole evening is refereeing is thinking. So that's the theme for the evening. Hopefully that's in line with the sorts of things you're thinking about this year as you're going through the tournament season with Team 3. We're gonna focus a little bit on proactive approach to managing the game. We're going to be looking at items in those three areas that you see up there. My intent tonight is to make this pretty interactive. I'm not going to sit here and drone things at you. We're going to kind of work through this together. Fair enough? Okay. So the first thing is, in the context of being a referee, I got a statement here. Good referees are proactive. What in the world does that mean in the context of refereeing? Help me out. What's it mean?
You anticipate what is going to happen or could happen.
Okay, that's proactive. Okay, so there's a little bit of anticipation. Okay.
You start out the game with a good. You start out the game with a good attitude and a good way of introducing yourself to coaches and players.
Okay, attitude. Okay, those are some features of it, but what does proactive really mean in the context of refereeing? To be proactive, what does that really mean? That part and parcel of it.
You're anticipating.
Okay, anticipating, yeah. What does that mean to anticipate?
And then taking action. You're anticipating the next thing that's going to happen, and then taking action to get the result you want. I expect.
Okay, that's part of it. I like that. Response.
You're prepared physically.
Preparation is part of it. Okay, preparation is part of being proactive. Kind of wrap your arms around it. I want a nice global definition that all this stuff kind of falls under. Can you help me out, Clint?
I'm going to try it. Maybe like you're thinking as you go, as with every decision you make and based on the plays that are going on the field.
Okay, so you're thinking while you're refereeing. That's all part of it. I like that. I like all these answers. Cindy, you got anything to offer us?
It helps you make wise decisions so that
being proactive is part of the process of being proactive is making these good decisions.
It gives you more time also to make decisions, because if you're not proactive, then you're under pressure, but if you try to think ahead, you can make your decisions with less pressure.
Good point. Good point. That's part of it.
I think part of it is you're up on the laws of the game,
That's part of it. You're
dancing around it.
dancing around it a little bit. Let me throw you a couple of things that I have here. Okay, being proactive falls into two categories in my mind. One is preparing. We talked a little bit. I heard preparation out here.
Mm-hmm.
Preparing in advance to avoid problems. That's what a thinking referee does. Prepare in advance. So you're anticipating problems and you're figuring out how can I avoid them. So it's part of your preparation. And second thing is the problems that you do get, addressing them when they're small to avoid the larger problems. So those are the two bins, the two global bins that I want you to be thinking about tonight in terms of what we're talking about. How do you prepare to avoid problems? So how do you avoid problems? And then given that you have problems, how do you manage the problems to keep them from escalating? So those are kind of the two bins we're going to be talking about tonight. So more global aspect than just some very narrow thoughts. Okay, you with me? Okay. So let's look at a proactive referee in action. Now, what you're going to see here is you're going to see a clip, and I think many of you may have seen this clip before. It's a clip of Brian Hall at the 2002 World Cup. Just some clips of him doing his games. We're not going to get the audio on it tonight, but the audio back is just some guy saying what a great job he's doing. Okay. What this clip comes from, it comes from a FIFA instructional disc, and this is one where they're using it as examples of very good positioning on the part of a referee. So what I want you to do is I want you to watch what he's doing out there on some clips, and then what we're going to do is we're going to discuss how he's being proactive, or how a proactive approach to the game is being demonstrated by what he's doing out there. Fair enough? Okay, let's see if I can get it to go. Maybe Lewis will have to do his magic on this. It was working earlier. Okay, try it again. Okay, the clip's about a minute long. That's the number one, I think. Cool.
All right, let me do this. All right, we're going to watch it slightly smaller.
Actually, you know what? Let me switch over and see if I can get it from our Google Drive.
That might be a little easier.
Okay. There we go. That'll be fine.
Let's see if it's choppy.
There we go. Okay. So again, it's a FIFA tape. So you're going to watch him enter the field, and then you're going to see some clips of games. This is an Italy game. Look at his positioning. Look what he's doing. Okay, following play there. Here he stopped play for a foul right there. You'll show a replay of it right there. Again, following play, advantage. Okay. So what struck you about what he's doing out there?
He's taking care of the little fouls that are the kind that really annoy the players to prevent them from getting upset.
Okay. Obviously they cherry pick this, but yeah, he's taking care of the fouls that need to be taken care of. But what else? What else? I mean, what else is happening?
God, his proximity to play is really good. He's right there. They know he's there.
Yeah, presence lends conviction. Those clips certainly demonstrate that, right? That's one point.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Very impressive.
So is that a way of being proactive?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
What else are you seeing?
I noticed that when there's a hard challenge where a player's go on the ground or wherever or whenever there's a challenge that potentially could be reckless in a sense, he's immediately like running to that zone right there, probably to address any situation, prevent any possible retaliation or from jumping up. That's thought.
In classes, what do we talk about that showing? A sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's important. It's important to the players at that point, so it becomes important to the referee. Again, being proactive. What else do you notice?
Communication,
What? How?
verbal,
With
with the players.
with the player,
Yeah.
right? After one of the fouls, a very brief conversation with the player.
Yep, talking, probably doing a lot more talking that we didn't see in that clip.
Right. Now he's being cited by FIFA as an example of having really good positioning. What went into that on his part? What are some of the things he had to do so he could be in good position?
Understanding the way the team's tactics,
Okay, team tactics.
the way they were playing.
Correct. Chris mentioned being in shape. That certainly helps, doesn't it?
Yep,
What else?
absolutely.
What else did you see?
Focus.
Focus. We're going to talk a little bit later about reading the game and what it means, but in terms of reading the game, was he reading the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so part of that is reading team tactics. What else is there? Watching the players, right? Pick up individual trends from the players as well. What about his positioning on the field? Where was he making his runs, and why was he making runs like that? Was he using the diagonal?
No.
He was definitely getting wide of play and getting different angles. Definitely off the diagonal. No.
He was running to where he thought there was going to be action.
Yeah, he was running to where it was going to be action, but at the same time, and Keith touched it, same time he's picking up the angles. There were two of those cases, he's not getting wide at all. Well, he's not getting wide in the sense of getting away from play. He's stepping right into the AR's area. His runs were down the right side of the field, right into the AR area. Why? Twice he did that. Why?
Because he needed to stay out of where play was going to go, but he needed to be there and have it.
That's one part, and what's the other part that goes with that? Staying out of the way.
And be able to see.
The angle. The angle. He read where play was going, and he said, I need to be on this pass so I can see what happens, because I know, and in both those cases, I know that ball is going to get crossed from the right side into the middle. So for me to see find ways to play, where's my angle? And so this is what a thinking referee does. So good discussion. So are we back up on? Yeah.
Yes.
So good referees, students of the game. What does that mean?
You understand systems of play, you understand attacking and defending tactics, and you understand the teams as well.
If you could capture it in a sentence from a referee standpoint,
Good
they
listeners.
watch a lot of soccer, right?
Or coach a lot.
Or coach a lot.
Observant.
We're going to talk
Well,
about,
I hope you're watching when you're coaching.
yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about what this really means, what reading the game really means. I want you to dig into it tonight and come up with some of the attributes of what that really means. And so we have students of the game, good sense of anticipation, and good game management practices. Now, did you see that in Brian's those little clips from Brian? Obviously cherry picked, but yeah, you see that. You saw his positioning, his angles, recognition of what was going on in the field, recognition of fouls. And you don't see this because this is hard to pick up in a clip, but key player, you identify who the key players are and deal with them. Okay, so question for you. What are some of the things we can do to be proactive before the game starts?
Brief your assistant referees,
Good.
talk to the coaches.
Talk to the coaches. Well, more than talk to, what do you do before you talk to the coaches? I mean, as part of that shooting, as part of that process of talking to the coaches.
Well, introduce yourself.
Bingo, you introduce yourself, build a bridge, start building the bridge. Talk to the coaches. What else do you do before a game that will help you out during the match? More so with older kids than younger kids. What, Lewis?
You warm up.
Yes, you warm up. That's a good part of it. But if you're doing more likely with older kids than younger kids, what else are you doing prior to the game?
I read their body language and pick out their leaders.
Yeah, you watch them.
And their clowns.
So what does that tell you?
Possible problem areas.
Might tell you
Possible people to help you.
Possible people to help you. Might get some clue watching them warm up about what their expectations are. There's a lot you can learn from the teams prior to the match. Generally with the older teams more so than the younger teams, because what happens with the younger team games?
The coach puts them in a rigid
The coach
drill.
the whole process is regimented and you don't learn a whole lot. With the older kids, it's a little more loosey-goosey and you get to pick up some information that's useful. What else do you need to do before a game that's proactive?
Well, you walk the field, check the field, make sure there's no issues with the field, and that's the actual setup of the field.
Bingo.
Make sure there's.
That's a good answer, Keith. When you're looking at the field, what are some of the things you're looking for?
Holes in the net.
Holes in the net. Why?
Right.
How many of you have been nailed by a ball going through the net and you didn't really have a clue whether the ball was in or out, right? Okay.
Right.
What else do you look for? Playoff game.
State.
Needs a winner. What else you look for? Little thing. Is there a penalty mark on the field?
Oh.
Right. Penalty mark. Are the flags placed properly?
Are there flags?
Are the goals on the line?
Right. Are the goals staked?
Yeah. There's a lot of things to look for, but quite often, how many of you have gotten to the end of a match and you had to go to kicks and realized there wasn't a penalty spot there?
Or it was in the wrong place.
Or it was in the wrong place.
I had to do that, but I realized from the beginning I probably should have had somebody come with the paint. But
Yeah, we had a referee at section playoffs have to go to kicks from the mark, and there wasn't a mark on the field. So he invented one in the wrong location. But he was consistent. Everybody got to kick from that location.
when there's not one, I put my coin on the ground at the distance I want, and that way I can.
Yeah.
Unless one time the player kicked it, so then.
Yeah. There's ways to get around that. So those are a number of things we can do. Let me look at my list. I wrote up a list myself. And I think we touched upon everything except maybe the weather. Understanding what the weather's going to be like might be useful, particularly if it's windy or it's particularly hot. In the pregame with ARs, we talked about walking around the players, watching them warm up and learning stuff. What is some key team information you think is useful to get gathered that would be important to you to know?
Standings.
Standings might be important.
How many players show up, whether they're going to be tired, whether they have a lot of subs.
When did they play last? Mm-hmm. What else? Anything else you'd like to know about a team?
Any special medical needs of any of the kids? Sometimes coaches will tell you that, like, hey, he has asthma. They might ask you, hey, he might come to me during the game, and you got, because he's having trouble breathing, So any special things like that might occur?
That's important as well. Anything else? What else would you like to know about this team?
Misconduct history.
Misconduct history. How do they play? How do they play? Are they physical team? Are they finesse team? Physical and finesse? No skill? High skill? What? So a lot of this stuff, as a referee, helps you build a picture and helps you build a set of expectations going on the field. and helps you do some planning internally. This says, if I expect, for example, to be a high skill team versus a low skill team, I've got to be thinking about how I'm going to manage that. Versus, and it's a different plan than if it's high skill versus high skill or equal skill versus equal skill, whatever the level, right? So again, that's all part of being a proactive referee, is being prepared and having plans in place to deal with this stuff. So let's talk about, here's my list of questions. Have they played before? What was the score? What type of speed did they have? What do we know about this team? Quite often in our particularly in our area play, we'll work with referees. So I might work with a couple of other referees and they've done these teams before, and they can say, hey, this is what happened the last time. You know, all the play went through number 13. He's their key guy and playmaker. It's nice to know that. Why do you think it might be nice to know that?
He might be a target.
He might be a target. Okay. And so one of our goals is to protect the skill players. Protect everybody, keep it safe, but you got to protect the skill players, or you don't have a game. So anyway, so these are the sorts of things being proactive helps you with. Is, in my mind, learning as much as you can about the teams helps you be a better referee, because it helps you to begin to anticipate what might happen on the field. Of course, the reality is when they hit the field, we have to react to what they're doing out there. But this might give us a leg up on what's going on. Any comments on that? Any thoughts? Am I all wet? Is this a good thought process?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel, particularly when I'm coaching, that some referees put too much weight on historical information, and I feel it kind of cheats the players who they've already formed an opinion about them before the game starts.
Okay, that's a fair question. As referees, we have biases. We're human beings. We have biases. So if we hear that number 10 was the bad guy, maybe that plants the wrong seed in our mind.
Maybe you come out too harsh.
Right, but a good referee is going to say, okay, I understand the last game, there may have been issues with number 10. This is a new game. Let's go from here. But you still might want to be aware that he'd had problems the last game. Because maybe if you're seeing the first early in the game that he's not having issues, you kind of say, okay, we're good. And if you see he's beginning to have issues, maybe you can do something to keep those issues down here. So I agree with Cindy, but I also want the knowledge of what happened. But yeah, you can use it to form that's why you have to do a self-assessment. Did I bias what I'm doing because I heard this? Or am I just using this as a piece of information to help me prepare? It's a hard
Yeah, I think that
thing to
may
do.
good referee, bad referee.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not
Yeah.
bad referee, but better referee. Good referee, better referee.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. So anyway, let's talk about reading the game. We talk about that in the advanced course. There's a whole module called reading the game. Let's break it into some bullet points. What do you think some bullet points of reading the game really means from a referee standpoint? Give me a bullet point about what reading the game means without using the word anticipation.
Recognizing fouls at the appropriate level. What are the players accepting?
Okay, fair enough. That's a good start. So appropriate foul recognition is part of reading the game. That actually may be more of an outcome of having read the game well, but I'll accept that as part of it.
Miller Newland says intensity.
Intensity of
Play, I presume.
Intensity of play, okay.
Identifying this. A lot of times with the kids, identifying the system of play.
Identifying the system of play, that's part of reading the game. What else?
Identifying the key players.
Identifying the key players, that's part of the read. What else? System of play, key players. What else? What else about the players you need to read?
Body language?
More than that.
Their energy level, maybe?
Energy, bring it together. What does that all mean? We use a word for that. Skill.
Skill
Skill
level.
levels. Okay. What else?
Attacking bias versus defense bias.
So that's a team tactic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Part of that's good. That's part of the team tactics. What else? Key players. Identifying key players.
Problem players.
And problem players. Well, I think of key players as the key attackers, the key defenders, the enforcers, and that sort of thing.
Players out of position.
Okay, well, there's another thing that helps you in reading the game. That's part of reading the game. There are a couple things. What else are you looking for from the teams? Let's talk about fouls. What are you looking for? A global term, not an individual player. What are you looking for with the fouls?
Miller says attitudes, faces, foul intensity.
Oh, okay, that's part of it. How about trends, patterns? Looking for foul patterns, because that'll lead you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That'll
Are
lead
they targeting?
to persistent offenses. And that'll lead you to targeting.
Or are they targeting players?
And finally, there's one final item I threw on there.
Tapping?
Yeah, get that. And that is one of the other parts of reading the game is looking at the player's response to fouls. How are they responding to these fouls? Because what does that tell you? Your national referee, what does it tell you? Players respond.
Yeah, are they going to be?
They're going to have a problem
Or not.
or retaliate.
Or not, right. Is it going to be a retaliation?
Or not?
What you're trying to find when you're doing these games is you're trying to get, where do the players really want you to blow the whistle? If you're blowing the whistle for ticky-tack stuff and they're looking at you like, come on, ref, versus somebody gets hammered and they're going, come on, ref, then you know. So the thing that you're also reading as part of reading the game is looking at the player responses to what you're doing out there. Are you at the right level for foul recognition? And you do that. I've seen you all referee. You do that, okay? But what I want you to do is be thinking about all these things. We're thinking referees. Why are we doing? What sort of causative things are we looking for? So my list.
I was also reading how the touchline plays into it as well.
Right.
They can really shape the game, especially in the youth game.
Correct. Yes, the touch lines are a big part of that. And I didn't add that on there. Maybe I should. But these are the sorts of things we talk about. Skill level, tactics, key players, responses, and patterns.
One thing that I think about is it seem that the players will accept your decision to handle the foul with advantage, or is it better to stop play, depending on how you read the game? That's
why you get paid the big bucks. You have to make those decisions. And, several years ago I was doing a 16 match. And the teams were not well balanced. We had a fairly weak team against a fairly strong team. And we had the competing problems with the players in the sense of the stronger team was, I want to play through this crap. And the less strong team wanted a whistle blown for everything. And so that becomes a game management problem that's a little difficult to solve. And I'm not sure I solved it successfully because I blew the whistle more than I should have during that game. But it's one of the issues that we have to sort out is when do you let it go, when do you not? And that ties into the advantage thing that you talked about. When is advantage appropriate for the players? And how do you make that determination? So how do you do it, Cindy?
I've got to look at where the temperature is and how that player is reacting and whether it seems like they would understand it.
Okay.
I've gone, I think, too far sometimes awarding advantage the player not understanding. And then I think it's hurting the game.
Right. Sometimes they just want justice. And the younger they are, the more likely it is that they want justice. Is that a fair, albeit global statement, fair? Okay. So that's reading the game. Okay, now let's talk about the refereeing is thinking. Ken Aston said refereeing is thinking. What do you think he meant by that? Keith, what do you think he meant?
I think it's. I think he means that everything we've been talking about. I mean, the entirety of the game. You're constantly, trying to see the next situation. They're trying to, anticipate things that are going to happen. Behind you, am I in the right spot? Am I looking at the right thing? I mean, it's a constant kind of, it's a constant battle. I don't want to say battle, but it's a constant, you got to have your head on and you got to be aware.
Okay. So you got to be aware and you have to learn how to adjust, right?
Definitely.
Okay. What about you, Clint? What do you think refereeing is thinking is? That's a good answer, Keith. I like that.
I'm trying to think about it myself right now because I mean I like Keith's idea because that sounds more logical. Referees thinking, well, everything changes with every decision players and referees make. So I mean, like, you gotta figure out, like, am I being too hard or do I need to lighten up a bit? Do I need to lighten up on these players? Like, okay, so do I feel like pulling a card is going to make a difference, or should I just nip it in the bud with just a simple conversation and say, hey, I saw that happen. Let's just let's keep going, but don't let it happen again. Just raise the seed down.
So you're reading and you're adjusting. You're trying to understand what the players need to make the game successful for them. Any other thoughts without thinking?
Miller says anticipation of play, maintaining relationships with players to manage flow versus control.
Good answers. I like those.
I would throw out, to some extent, shaping the game rather than responding to the game. And there's a wrong way to shape a game and a right way to shape a game.
Okay, elaborate a little bit about what you mean by shaping the game.
Well, we talk about a strong first 5 minutes of each half, right? You can send messages there that the game is going to be handled by a capable referee. They can see that. Calling, as we saw with Brian Hall, calling those little fouls, being present, maybe not even making the call, right? He was shaping the game by saying what he was going to allow, and then being present so that they knew that they would get caught. Rather than, he could have just had these hard fouls happen, and then he could have just responded to them, but he's a professional, and he knows he's with professionals, and what they're doing has only a certain number of trajectories it can go. So if the fouls are starting to ratchet up and he doesn't act before it reaches a certain level, then he's going to have a big problem on his hands that he's going to have to handle.
Fair enough. I like that.
What I think is when a referee doesn't think, I think they can't give the players the game they want. Instead, the referee imposes their predetermined game on the players if they're not thinking.
Good. I like that thought process. So when you don't think well, or you don't think, period, you're not thinking about whose game it really is. Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. What else do you think might happen if you don't think well, or don't think at all? What happens to the game?
You can get out of hand.
You make the wrong decisions.
You make a lot of wrong decisions. It may get out of hand. It may be that game from hell, right? And you don't know why that happened. It's because you're not thinking. So you just read the banner. So anything that you do that's causing you not to think is affecting what you're doing out there. And that's important for us to think about as referees out there. Other things. So what impacts the thought process? What are the two big contributors that really, really cause referees to stop thinking?
Exhaustion.
Fatigue. Exhaustion.
John is saying if the game is out of control, you can feel overwhelmed.
Yep, you can feel overwhelmed, exactly. So what another word for being overwhelmed is feeling what?
Pressure.
Pressure. I like the word pressure. There's another word that captures it. Stress, right? In many cases, it might be a self-imposed stress because you're not having a good day at the office. But in other days, it may be stress imposed by what's going on out there. Maybe these teams are a little better at doing their job than you are at your job, even though you're trying hard. Or maybe it's just one of those days. So fatigue and stress, they impact us a lot. And so we need to be aware of that. When does fatigue really set in for referees?
Late in the game.
Usually late in the game, right, or late in the half, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Miller says 85 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
Miller's fit.
Thanks, Miller. When does stress rear its head? When can it rear its head?
End of the game, says Miller.
End of the game. Where else can stress rear
I
its
think
head?
anytime during
What ifs?
Sure.
Yeah.
You have the
Right.
19 boys All-Star Final. Stressful? Best teams we've got.
Can be.
We got about 10 ODP players on. Stressful?
Sure.
Yeah. See? Okay. So stress can happen. You can impose that stress on yourself from the get-go, just from the assignment.
Yeah, there's a situation the advanced course discusses when the number of judgment calls elevates over the number of black and white calls. There's more stress.
Exactly. Why is that?
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
That takes experience, that takes knowledge and understanding and reading the game.
Right. That's not because those aren't the clear-cut decisions. The ball out of play is easy. I mean, there's no stress involved with that.
It's easy to sell.
But was that contact enough to warrant a foul?
Mm-hmm.
Was that contact hard enough to warrant a card? What else is going on?
Yeah, John says when there are many shots to the goal, one after another, poor defense.
Right. Stressful. Which John do we have?
Crandall from Red Box Nerd.
Yep. Hi, John. Okay. So anyway, fatigue and stress, and they impact all those areas. It's not just the decision making; it's your communication. If you're very stressed or fatigued, what happens to your communication with players?
It can be the wrong. It can be the wrong tone, the wrong words in a situation. You can just be, not what you really wanted to communicate.
Yeah, I'm really
Based more on your
tired.
stress.
Cut that crap out, as opposed to I don't need. I need you to stop doing what you're doing. So you get tired, and sometimes your brain doesn't engage quite, and you do or say stupid things. We've all been there.
Or you're too far away to communicate verbally effectively.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you just got over too many games that were intense.
Yeah. So as much as possible, you want to deal with the problems early so you can deal with them in a more calm manner, but that's not always possible. We talked about this earlier. Let's talk about when a referee needs to have the antenna up and be on high alert. And not just for problems, but just want to be on high alert for a number of reasons. What's the first time period where you might want to be on high alert? And we mentioned it a minute ago.
After a goal scored?
Well, that's part of it. We'll get to that in a second. Keep that one in mind. You mentioned it.
About right start of the game.
Okay. Sure. Because what you're doing then? Why are you on alert?
Because you're really kind of getting an understanding of how the game's going to go right off the bat. You're going to see how the two teams go at each other. You're going to see what the measure is. Some players like to start out and see how much you'll allow, and if you allow a lot right away, then that's a marker for them. So I think you have to be careful.
Right.
Miller says attacking in the final third.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So you're beginning to read their tactics, and to use Lewis's word, that's where you're beginning to shape the game to let them know what's acceptable and what isn't. So that's an important thing. Again, so you're 10 or up, not because you have a problem, but because you're trying to gather information.
Miller says hard fouls as well.
Yep, we'll talk. Cindy brought that up a second ago, and we'll talk about that. And then we talked a little bit about the time when you get tired. Why is that a key time to be on alert?
Desperation, or one team's like trying to run the clock down while the other team's like trying to get a goal.
Okay, so you may have the teams aware the clock is winding down and the temperature ratchets up on the game. What else is happening at last
I think Cindy touched on it too about the possibility of not being in position. And they know that.
So fatigue is setting
in. You're getting tired.
From the referee point, is fatigue setting in from the player point?
Yes.
So what does that mean?
They could lose. They could. Well, they're not thinking. They're going to probably
potential for more fouls, right?
Exactly, or probably even something serious.
Right.
Or their skill level is going down, so their playing is more sloppy.
Right. So all these things are happening, and you have to just be aware of it. You have to fight through your own fatigue to realize what's happening with the players. Then Cindy mentioned after a goal or hard foul. We all know what can happen there, depending on how contentious the game is, right? Retaliation, taunting, all sorts of things can happen. So we need to be aware of that and be alert for that. I don't care about that. Okay, so I have another video here, and I think most of you have seen this video. I'm going to play it.
Everyone online, this is clip 2.
You've been
Lewis.
I know, I'm pulling it up over here.
Okay, there we go. Clip 2. Just watch it. I'm sure most of you have seen this before. It was actually in a whistle stop a while ago. Okay, everybody get the gist of that video? How many of you have not seen that video?
I don't recall, sorry.
Okay, we're talking to put in the context of proactive refereeing now. What was your immediate thought about that video? What's your immediate thought, off the cuff? Immediate thought. Come on, Chris, what's your immediate thought?
Frustrated player, and he's disagreeing with the call, so he's throwing the ball down, or
Okay.
he's take it as a form of dissent.
Okay, so you take it as a form of dissent. Okay.
I need to go find out why he's frustrated if I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Miller says he's challenging your authority.
Possibly. Possibly. That's a reaction. That's a reaction you get from just looking at that clip. Very narrow clip. Okay. What else? Anything else? Okay. It's really hard. And so I was going to ask you, what are you going to do about this? And it's really hard for you to give me an answer, I suspect.
It's just,
Depends
in my
on the
opinion,
history of the game.
Because there's no context for the clip.
there's not enough information for me to
So
determine
let me
whether.
give you some context. We're proactive referees. Let me give you some context. Suppose this happened at about the 5-minute mark of the game, and there's been literally nothing else going on. This is the first time you've had to blow your whistle. How do you deal with it now as a proactive referee? What do you do?
I'd run over there and I'd have a talk with him.
Okay.
Miller
I
says
would
you
not-
must
I
have a
would-
discussion.
Yeah, I would not necessarily
Try-
issue a card.
Okay.
Well, with that information that you brought up in mind, I agree with Chris, because just so we can at least determine whether this player was doing it because he wanted fouls only called for more serious offenses, or if he just really is just, or if he's got something personal going on in his mind that he just can't.
So you're going to talk to him.
Yeah.
Try to find out what's going on. Cindy, any thoughts?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Anything for you, Lewis? First 5 minutes, first foul call.
Yeah, you definitely, that's a strong message that the player's sending. So you will need to respond in kind, not just to the player, but in a demonstrative way that is conveyed across the field.
Yeah. So far, nothing's happened in this game, though.
But this is something that has happened.
This is something that's happened.
Alert.
Miller says, understand the frustration. Maybe the referee missed a call.
Okay. Okay. Good. All good points. The key thing is you're thinking referees are being proactive. you're beginning the process of managing the player. That's really what I'm going for. Process of managing the player. Okay, let's set a little different context on this. It's 20 minutes into the game. Game's been a bit chippy. And this is the third foul you've called on this player. How do you manage that? You're up.
Definitely more demonstrative in getting close to him, talking to him, and if it's the third foul and it's like that, that's a caution.
Okay, so you think you're going to caution at this point. Okay?
That's what we're getting online.
Okay?
I think I would go 1, 2, 3, no more.
Okay. So you have a choice here, though, right?
But I'm doing it so everybody knows.
Understand that. So Cindy's sending the message. For those of you who can't see her, she's sending the typical persistent offenses kind of signaling. Okay? So what are your choices here, though? So you caution. She's choosing to caution him for persistent. Somebody else might choose to caution him possibly for dissent. Right? Not a big deal on the scale of things. But you need to be thinking about how you want to handle that and how you want to write it up and what the real reason you blew the whistle for was. Okay, so that's a couple of different contexts. Out of the clip, we got some different answers. We got first just manage the player and talk to him. The second was we're done with this. Okay, it all depends on context. So that said, I'm going to proceed apace here. So what are some of these factors as part of context that influence your decision? What are some of the things that run through your mind that kind of guide you into how you're going to deal with this game management situation?
The game has gone so far.
Okay, so the history of the match so far, okay, that's part of it. What else?
John says time of the game.
Time of the game, that's an important one, yeah.
The interaction with the player so far.
Okay, so your relationship with the player so far, that's a factor, okay.
Skill level of the player.
Skill level. That'll help you. That'll influence you. What else? Anything else?
Age.
Age might be.
That's skill level.
Age. Well, no, you can separate it from skill.
Not all. You're right. It's different than skill. So the age of the player.
All right. So if this was a 10U player versus a 18U player, different approach, right?
10U players. Yeah, 10U players gone. Oh, I mean no.
John Crandall says his reaction to your verbal discussion so far.
Right. So again, that's part of your relationship with the player so far. I like that. What else?
Miller says expectations of the players based upon skill level.
Bingo. I really like that one. What does that really mean?
The player's happy with your decisions. Do you
Players-
need
the
to
player's happy?
adjust your
Right.
level?
Right. Are you satisfying his expectations of what you're calling and what you're not calling and how you're handling things? Anything else that you'd like to add up there that's an important factor that influences how you make a decision?
Your stress level at the moment.
Your stress level?
Temperature and speed.
The temperature of the match?
Miller says some players want to play hard and it's okay and accepted.
Yep, that's true. Okay, here's kind of my list I listed up there. I think we touched upon most of our score. Score, it's an influencing factor. Whether we want it to be or not, it is an influence. I think we touched upon most of those. On the skill level, I put both relative and absolute because you can have some very high skilled players, and then you have players that are well matched. You get looking at their relative skill level. That's all I meant by that. So these are some of the factors that influence your decision making process. And so, as a proactive referee, you need to understand that these are some of the factors and how do you use them and how do they influence what you're about to do. So we saw in the context that in that first thing, I didn't say anything about the skill level of the players, but they were like 16U level players, maybe 17U. So you expect a decent skill level. Don't know what the score was. The first context, the match had no temperature. Nothing had happened. It was early in the match. Don't know how important the match was. Don't know what the player expectations are. But it was nothing had happened. Low temperature match. The second one was kind of chippy, so that means the temperature's higher. Later in the match, so fatigue and other factors are beginning to set in. Then a number of fouls by this player. So again, it was a different set of circumstances that leads you to a slightly different conclusion about how you're going to manage this. So everybody with me on that? Okay, so that said, I twisted Lewis's arm and got some clips. And what I want to do is I want to look at this clip and kind of tell me how you're being proactive to manage this. What's your game management style? What are you going to do with this? There's a foul coming through.
Right there.
No, it's coming back. When it comes back, and then turn right there. Okay. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, what was your immediate reaction to the foul? Chris?
My immediate reaction, he left his foot out there. Caused the guy to trip. There was no, well, it could have been tactical, but I didn't think it was an intentional. I think he just left his foot out there.
Okay. I have to admit, I do not know when in the match this occurred, and I don't know how heated this match was in that clip.
This was right before halftime.
Okay.
And there were hard fouls going.
Okay.
Where the players of opposite teams would just get up and shake their hands and walk it off. It was a weird match.
Yeah, I know. I played enough to saw that. So the kids shook hands after this foul. Anyway, I had a different reaction to this myself.
Relative skill level, and the red team might have recognized that, and that's why they're willing to accept the other players apologizing for being careless.
Okay. But as a referee, how do you manage this? So now we're late in the half. This has happened. It looked like there'd been a fair amount of physical contact. A little bit of the clip I saw, and I think this was about a 14U kind of match.
It was 16s or 19s.
Was it 16s?
Yeah.
It looked like
16s.
19s. It might have been 16s.
Miller says it was reckless. It could have been because of the ability of the defender.
Yeah.
I did think it was blatantly late.
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you mine because I could be part of this too. Because I've seen this. When I first looked at this, to me it looked like he didn't care whether he got the ball or the player, to be honest with you. It was a quick little move. I'm going to get something. Might be the ball, might be the player. And so that was beginning to tread upon my reckless bill was tingling when I saw this. But the question is, how do you manage this? What are you going to do to manage this? Is it just blow the whistle and play on?
No, I'm going to run right up there. I'm going to have a little talk with the player.
I don't want to influence you by what I saw, but what are you going to do?
I would run up there, even if I thought the guy was just low skill level and just left his foot out there, I'd still run up there and I'd have a talk with him. I probably wouldn't card it, but indicate direction.
The just by looking at the video itself when it was running, I mean the red player looked like the foul wasn't really that big. That said, though, I mean, yeah, as Chris pointed out, talk to the players because if you're not going to caution them, you got to at least let the red player know that you saw the situation and that it's not acceptable. While at the same time, you're also letting the green. Well, you're telling the green player that it's not acceptable. At the same time, you're letting the red player know that you were aware of it. But well, yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna leave it at.
I think it was definitely a tactical foul, and I would have definitely cautioned him immediately and let him know because I felt that once he knew he was beat, he relaxed and just kept it there, knowing that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, I had the luxury of watching this in slow motion too, And I think I'm with you. There was no accident here. If you watch, the kid that committed the foul, actually his left foot planted and then came back up across the opponent once the ball was gone.
Yep.
It was very deliberate attempt to bring that player down. And it's concerning.
I did not notice that.
If you,
I didn't notice it either.
if you don't caution him, I think that sends a message that
Okay.
you're going to have more bigger problems.
Okay, so we're gonna start managing that player all the way up, potentially all the way up to a caution, and the idea is to keep things settled down, manage our match, and be proactive and make sure it doesn't escalate.
Miller points out, have a discussion with the player. It's interesting that the foul is in the defensive third for Green, which is not normal here.
Right. I agree with that. And that was the thing. I looked at that. I said, yeah, he's defending because that's his penalty area right there.
And he actually, the attacker decided to pull back and set up for another attack. So he wasn't even attacking the goal when the foul happened.
And so I was wondering, because I didn't have the context at the time, to me this looked like late in the game, and the player had just stopped thinking, I'm not, he kind of said to himself, enough of this stuff, bang. Okay, is the sense that I got. But so I asked Lewis for kind of an ambiguous clip, and I really like this one. So good discussion. So we've begun our management process. We think we need to talk to him. We may caution him, depending on what else is going on. But if it's late and this has been happening, a caution might be acceptable. Hopefully that keeps the problem down. Okay, I like that. Wait a minute. We're getting back here.
Yeah. Next is another clip. Should I
just play
jump to that one?
Yeah, just jump to that one. Here's another clip. Take a look at this.
Miller said also consider referee angle on the challenge. He seems to have had a position.
Although I don't know if that was, if that Kramer had he comes into the play afterwards, but I don't know how
He was
wide
just out of view.
I don't know how far out of view he really was at that time, so I can't comment on that. But it's a good comment, Noah. Okay.
That was awkward.
Okay. Do you have any idea when in the game this was, Lewis?
I don't
It was
recall on
an
this one.
extra game at the
Yes.
Camarilla Cup.
Okay.
Yeah. But when in the game, I
Okay.
don't remember.
Okay. Because it's not clear to me from their body language where they are in the game.
Could be the
Okay,
first
so
half.
do we have a problem here? Or the start of a problem?
One player's trying to shield the ball out for a goal kick. The other one's just trying to prevent that goal kick from occurring. So there's so you could have a potential of frustration. But
You want to play that again, Lewis?
I can do slow motion too if you want.
And the red player does foul the white player.
Okay. Now, if you talk about shielding, it's not shielding. He doesn't watch.
He makes contact with the player before
Who's the
ball goes
attacking
down.
player?
White.
White's the attacking player. So orange is the defender. So do we have a problem here? Is this something you need to be worried about if you're managing this game?
Miller says it's a careless foul going after the ball. Eyes are on the ball on the attacker.
Okay. So just treat it as a normal careless foul is what he's saying. So he's saying, okay, it's just a standard foul, not much of a problem yet.
It would depend on the history of what's going
Okay,
on.
don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know what the history was, and I don't know how this game's been played so far. Except that if you look on the run, there's a lot of arms and elbows hanging out there, which is typical of this age. So they're not shy about contact, is what I'm saying.
And the referee's style, he likes letting Victor.
It's Victor.
He likes letting the game out,
Okay.
and then and he has to reel his line back in.
Okay.
So.
But is this something that's the start of an area where you might begin to reel things back in, or is this just an isolated incident? I don't know. Let's set some context. Suppose there's been a lot of contact in this game so far, and we're kind of late in the game, and this happens. Are we managing it other than just blowing our whistle and pointing direction? Are we doing something different? What? I'm not advocating anything. I'm just asking you. You're thinking referees. Do we have a problem starting here? Late in the game, lots of contact, this happens.
Late in the game, lots of contact. It would at least deserve my attention up close to the players and having a talk with them.
Okay. What's critical about where this happened?
Just outside the penalty area.
Yeah, this is a goal scoring area.
I'd want to show urgency in handling it.
Okay, so referee body language says you want to be on top of this and show that this is important at some level, rather than just a tweet, oh, come on guys, kind of nonchalant thing. Good, I like that. What else?
Well, I think, okay, Miller says, note on referee position, jogging is not explosive acceleration to proximity of contact.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, got that one.
What I think is, it's definitely something you have to handle. And I almost want to say regardless of what's been happening in the game.
Okay.
Anytime you see this shielding, blocking, whatever you want to call this, going into a line, a corner, like Miller hits on, it's a red flag. But I think it's a very difficult one to handle because obviously the player gets up and looks back at you and begs for something. However, I think they're both playing it up a bit. So if you come in with cautions on both of them, it's not great. You could sell it, and I don't know that I would fault anybody for that, but you could also have a firm talking with both of them.
Right.
However, the challenge is, what's your restart?
Mm-hmm.
And how's that?
Well, and I agree. I kind of agree with that, Lewis, except I don't know, as much soccer as, I mean, many times as I've seen that play, a lot of times it seems the defender kind of thinks it's open season on the attacker thinks it's open season on the defender who's shielding it out. Like, hey, I'll just give him a whack just before it goes out of play, like this kid kind of did. And I don't know if I feel good about cautioning them both. But I do see, I mean, I think that there's an opportunity because maybe you're right in line with the back, but you're not in a good position as a ref, and they kind of just nail the player. Oh, it's going to be a goal kick anyway. I'll just give him one. It's kind of what I saw there. But anyway, that's a different.
DFK, just inside the field, because he made contact with the player before the ball went out.
Right. If the contact happened before the ball goes out, we have DFK. And it was the attacker shielding the ball out, so he was looking for a corner kick.
It looked like the defender didn't have the skill to get in the correct position to shield the ball. He didn't seem to recognize how to shield the ball.
The defender went outside.
Yeah. The defender went outside.
I'm not sure the attacker was shielding it to let it go out for a corner kick because the defender reached in there to kick it out.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And that would be a corner kick.
That's what I'm saying. It's a corner kick.
I think the attacker was trying to get himself in position, maybe to kick the ball back in.
It wasn't clear because his body language, he sort of gave up on trying to
That's funny.
the last couple of steps. That's the way he read his body language. But anyway, managing this. Any other comments about how you manage it? Okay, set a different context. Suppose this happened really early in the game. This is 3 minutes into the game, and this is your first opportunity to, as Lewis called, shape the match. What are you doing? Do you do something with this, or is it just a foul and point direction?
It requires some talking regardless.
Yeah, at least some talking.
To set some expectations. And that's funny that I didn't realize that was the attacker because I can barely see the video. It was pretty jaggy for me.
Yeah. The white team is the attacker.
That's a different calculus. It's funny.
Yeah. Okay. So any other comments on this? So again, early in the game, first thing that happened, do we treat it differently than the first scenario? Is this a chance to talk to the players? What their expectations?
If it's like really close and you don't feel like you had a good view of it being a foul by the players, then you could easily just stick with either the corner kick, goal kick call, depending on who last touched the ball. Go to the players and let them know, hey, this kind of behavior is not acceptable. Okay, that could have been a foul right there. So watch it. All right.
I like that. The other thing, in conjunction with what Clint just said, is that if you look where Victor's coming in, I'll bet he's pretty much in line with these players.
Yeah, John asks, where should the ref be to better sell the call?
The answer is you better get an angle, and you don't get an angle if you're in line. If it were me, hopefully I'd be cutting inside and looking, trying to get an angle inside. At the same time, moving a little bit towards the center of the field because I'm expecting the ball to come back that way if a play happens on it.
Well, as soon as the breakaway was occurring, he should have been getting in position to get the angle because there's not much that could happen. It's only going to go in one small area. So it's not like he was, worried about him going across the field. They were going in that corner, and he should have been moving a lot faster.
And to extend the comment about nothing good ever happens in the corners, nothing good really ever happens on the goal line down there either. So again, the antenna need to be popping up if you're going to manage the game. That this is an area where stuff happens, and so we need to be aware of that as referees. Pretty good with that, or you have some other comments?
I'm going to tag on to what Clint said.
Please do.
Where he said, go with the natural restart, the corner kick in this situation, and have a good talk with them. And I think the context where you said if this is early in the game, if you can get those players walking away from this situation, nodding their heads and shaking hands, you've shown that you're going to manage the game, but that you respect them too. And the coaches and the parents and all the players are going to see that. I think, it's really effective. I don't want to go cards here because it doesn't seem like it's at the level of cards, but I think a referee can handle it firmly that way.
Okay. What was the restart on that? How did he restart it?
He didn't blow a whistle.
He didn't blow a whistle. I do not know because I didn't. I probably looked at the tape, but I don't remember.
I didn't hear the whistle either.
But I thought it was a nice.
I remember it was goal kick.
Yeah, I was just trying to. I just like the little situation. It's a little bit ambiguous. What's going on? What do you do? Depends on context. Okay, I have one more video to play. This one some of you may have seen before as well. This is not a Team 3 video. Okay. A little more blatant. This happens late in the game, close game. How do we manage this? What do you think, Cindy?
It's a close game late in the game.
Close game, late in the game.
I'm thinking it's a tactical foul and I need to use a caution.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, but is that keeping the problem? How does that help us with our management? We're being proactive. How does that help us?
Well, you're sending a message that I know it's late in the game. I know it's a close game, but we're not going to have this kind of play.
Okay. So you're setting the tone, hopefully satisfying player expectations, because I think that player who committed that foul is expecting the referee to come over and gift him with a card. Anything else? Now, suppose this happens early in the game. First 10 minutes of the game, not much else has been going on. And to put in context, this happens somewhere near the halfway line.
It's so blatant, I think I would card it anyway.
Okay. It's a way to manage it, keep it down, satisfy expectations. Anybody have any other comments on this? Comment? You're shaking your hand.
No, I do the same.
I think you had a good point that player who committed the offense expects the punishment. Miller says conversation only. I think whether you have a conversation, whether you have a caution here, you let that player know, look, I appreciate that I know what you're trying to achieve, and I appreciate that you did it in a safe way. Because that was definitely about the safest option you could have gone with.
That's correct.
To stop that. So it was a high level foul.
If
Yes, this is a very high level foul. This is, I just want to stop things. I don't want to hurt anybody.
He even eased him down to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I like Miller's thought about you have to have a conversation. Yeah, that's the very minimum you have to do is have a conversation,
Yeah,
particularly early in the game.
He's adding tactical foul, make them see you and understand that you've seen it and it's not appropriate, especially early in the game.
Right.
I mean, if you caution the player and it's early in the game, then the player's going to be at risk of for the remaining time for like the other 3 quarters of the match, the second half of the game of carrying that caution on. So if he commits another caution, he's gone, and that puts his team at risk. Or
But he put himself in that situation.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So you gotta let him know. You gotta also let him know that hey, you just put yourself in a situation where you're at risk for both yourself and your team.
I like all of these comments. I think we're thinking about what's happening out there. We're thinking about it in context of what game the players need. And
We couldn't even see who was downfield or how far downfield they were.
the clip doesn't indicate who else is around, so we don't know.
Maybe
what else
that
is
could be
going on.
a dog soak because he could be running.
Potentially that was a dog so act. We don't know. We don't have enough context there, so we can invent a context. But as soon as I invent a dog so context, that kind of paints us into a corner.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go there. Okay. So that's kind of the last video. So just some thoughts. How do you keep small problems small? What are some of the tools you have at your disposal?
Your whistle,
Whistle.
positioning.
Address them early.
Addressing them early, yeah,
Start early, Miller says.
right. But what are the management tools that you have at your disposal?
Your voice.
Yeah, talk to them. What else?
Choose the appropriate response based on how you read the game.
Right. Okay. So read what they're trying to do. Okay. What else? We talked about talk to them. What else? What other tools do you have at your disposal for keeping problems down? What's your primary tool?
Presence.
Whistle.
Whistle. How do you use your whistle to send messages?
We already said whistle.
The volume.
Volume, length, tone. So you can send messages that way. You can manage with your whistle. Like, okay, this is just a foul, guys. Keep going. Or I really didn't like that, and don't let that happen again. Kind of whistle.
John says keep good positioning.
Positioning, exactly. What comes along with positioning? There's another aspect of positioning.
Angle.
You're part of a team.
Communication.
Eye contact.
Assistant
Communication. That's how you manage problems. It's a team management problem. It's not just the referee.
Miller says understanding the game to filter out the minimal from the tactical.
Correct. That's how you do it. That's another way. What about how do you deal with dissent? I'm looking for a one-word answer.
Talk.
Shut it down.
Quickly. That's what you just said. Quickly. Shut it down. Quickly. You deal with it quickly. And that keeps problems from escalating. So that's kind of my list. Eye contact, voice, whistle. Deal with these things that are not part of the game. And then look, and you got to pick up trends out there. You have to pick up trends and patterns, because those just weave into the game and can really destroy control. So you got to be proactive. You got to be cataloging what's going on out there. It's a memory test. On one of the other workshops I do, I refer to that as the memory test. You've got to remember this stuff. Unless you're like Lewis, you can bring your iPad out there and catalog it right there in Excel. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Keith.
Oh, that's Keith.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to watch you next game, Keith. Okay. There are, we're running a little late here. I don't know what time.
Usually roughly 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are, what I invented were some high risk, what I consider to be high risk situations, kind of looking for, how do you manage these? What if you see this? Is there anything you need to worry about? Players look at you every time you look at them. Or you see them. Every time you see them, they're looking to see what you're doing. Does that raise a flag at all with you? What flag might it raise with you?
He's waiting for the opportunity.
He might be waiting for an opportunity when you're not looking. There's a really good clip on the FIFA tape that I thought about bringing here, but it's 2002 World Cup. It's USA Germany, and it's a video of Hugh Dallas as the referee, and it's the video that Claudio Reyna gets in this little kerfluffle with a German defender on what's going to be a free kick for the U.S. in about 23 yards away. And if you watch the video carefully, Claudio was watching the referee, and the referee had to deal with something, and he had to go make communication with his AR, and Claudio was watching him, and as soon as the referee spun the wrong way coming back. Play is over here, and so as he was coming back, he spun around this way, go like this, instead of spinning around this way. As soon as he spun around this way, a lot of stuff started happening that Claudio Reyna instigated in the back, including what was probably a send-off offense that wasn't picked up. So that kind of spurred me to think about that. Okay, what about hard fouls? Is that a high-risk situation, or tactical fouls?
Yes.
Why? Why should our antenna be up on those?
Somebody's going to be upset.
Okay, and upset players
retaliate if it's not dealt with.
Retaliate, and what happens when you have upset players?
They escalate, Miller says.
Escalation happens. Good, good. Escalation means what to you as a referee?
Retaliation.
Frustration.
Temperature's going up. What does it mean about your control?
You're losing it.
It means they're challenging your control at that point. So again, think about these things. That's why you address them. I like this one. Players around whom bad things just happen. Wasn't me, it just happened. Okay, let's not dwell on that. This one. Is this high risk, a lopsided match, or by unbalanced, I mean team skill levels are radically different?
Depends on the personality of the players. It could be, but sometimes it's not.
Right. Sometimes it's not. Depends. I like that. Depends on the personality of the players. Sometimes what happens with these unbalanced matches?
They give up.
They give up. Some team gives up. But some of the way they choose to give up is they get a I don't give a darn attitude, and stuff happens. So again, it's a challenge, a potential challenge to your authority. I like this one. What are the risks? What are the risks with that? What are you looking for as a referee? How are you managing that situation? Chris, how are you going to manage key attacker versus key defender?
Well, I want to be closer to play with those two.
Okay, why?
Because something could happen.
Right. So closer to play means presence lends conviction. What else does closer to play bring you?
Well, the ability to see.
Probably a better
Sell the
view
call.
of what's going to go on. And so if you need to sell something, you're right there.
Better angle on contact, says Miller.
Right, better angle on contact. You saw that's what, if you go back to the first video, Brian Hall, a couple of those fouls, where was he?
Right there.
Right there. Because those were key players. One of them was Toddy. Those are key players he was dealing with. The players are all good at that level, but there are some that are really good. And so he was right there with the really good players, expecting something to happen.
Credibility, says Keith.
Credibility, yeah, good answer, Keith.
Your ability to make the right decision instead of guessing.
Right, it enhances that ability. I like that. Good answer. That high risk?
Yes.
For the reasons we talked about earlier today, right? What about that one? What are the risks with that?
You have to cover what they should be.
Okay, how do you manage that?
Start in your pregame.
Okay, what do you do?
Only call the ball in and out of play. Don't call it offside. Don't call the
Okay,
game
that's your
changers.
instruction to your club. But how do you manage the situation on the field?
For me, I would basically just be more cover more of that person's position because when anything he calls, everyone's going to probably go with that person and say, why didn't you call based on that play on that guy's decision? And then I gotta make sure I have a good angle and view to judge those type of game changer decision plays.
If you have a club linesman, what are ways you can be proactive to manage the game?
Tell your other AR that you might have to take risky positions and you might need them to cover the counter for you.
Good, that's part of it. I like that. I like that response. What else can you do?
Never thought of that.
You can temper the coach's expectations.
Yeah.
Have a chat with them, and say, hey, maybe you don't want to play the trap this game.
Yeah.
Outside trap.
Yeah. So build the bridge with the coach. Hey, coach, I'm sorry we have to use a club linesman this game. He's only allowed to call the ball in and out of play. I'll do the best I can picking up the offside, but if it's really close, I might not get it. And I'm sorry about that. I'll be doing my best out there. Okay. And you might want to think about how you want to deal with that and help us out. What else could you be doing? There's another element to the communication.
I think you need to be giving that club linesman positive feedback to keep them engaged and trying.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. But I was thinking about a different sort of communication with another element of the match.
Miller says build a bridge to the players, set expectations on calling hard and soft offside line.
Right. So talk to the players. Who's the player you can usually talk to before the match starts?
The captain.
Captain. So get the captains on your side. So anyway, again, thinking and being proactive, try to make it as easy for you as you can. So yeah, getting the coaches involved is great. Getting the players involved is even better. Hey guys, this is what's happening today. This is what some of the issues are that I'm going to be dealing with. I just need you to understand that, and we'll play. So, okay. That said, I think I'm done. I just have some bullets. You can read them yourself. And thank you. I hope this was helpful for you.
Thank you very much, Phil. All right. So everyone's getting the image of the annual theme, right, of refereeing with personality, being proactive lets you put your touch into the game and shape it from the start. Thank you very much, Phil, for getting us our May installment. It's great. We just came off. We had a lot of tournaments. The start of May, end of April always gets heavy for us, and so it's good to come back and get some instruction again and get ready as we dive into our June tournaments. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any final questions for Phil? Online, John Crandall says thanks. Keith Roberts says thank you, Phil. Another excellent presentation. And then Keith Roberts says to everybody else, great discussion with everybody. All right, well, we're going to end it right here. Thanks very much again, all the attendees as well. We appreciate your participation. You make the group happen.